second graders. So I'm so glad you could be here today. Today we are going to talk about context clues, and we're going to kind of be story detectives. So we're going to figure out what's happening in the story by looking closely at the pictures or the words, and then we're going to talk about fun tricks to figure out what those tricky words might mean or what those pictures could mean without any words. So the book we're going to read today is The Snowy Day. And on this picture right here, we can see that there's snow everywhere and that he's walking, he's bundled up. So just by looking at the picture, we can tell that it's probably in the wintertime, somewhere where it looks like they just got a bunch of snow. And since he's outside, we probably could tell that he's having fun or going on a walk. So, The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. One winter morning, Peter woke up and looked out the window. Snow had fallen during the night. It covered everything as far as he could see. After breakfast, he put on his snowsuit and ran outside. The snow was piled up very high along the street to make a path for walking. Crunch, crunch, crunch. His feet sank into the snow. Well, right there with that crunch, 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 we know that it's probably not super soft, fluffy snow, because we know where we live, when the snow makes it crunch, it's a little harder. He walked with his toes pointing out like this, and he walked with his toes pointing in like this. Then he dragged his feet slowly to make tracks, and he found something sticking out of the snow that made a new track. Do you see right here how the author too decided to put slowly as S-L-O-W-L-Y, like spread out like that? You could either spell it or you could drag it on and stretch it out like slowly. It's to make you stop and think as a reader. It was a stick that was just right for smacking a snow-covered tree. Down fell the snow, plop, on top of Peter's head. He thought it would be fun to join the big boys in their snowball fight, but he knew he wasn't old enough. Not yet. So he made a smiling snowman. He made angels. He pretended he was a mountain climber. He climbed up a great big tall heaping mountain of snow and slid all the way down. He picked up a handful of snow and another and still another. He packed it round and firm and put the snowball in his pocket for tomorrow. Then he went into his warm house. Right here where it says warm house, that's talking about the setting. It's talking about where he's going. He told his mother all about his adventures while she took off his wet socks. And he thought and thought about them. Before he got into bed, he looked in his pocket. His pocket was empty. The snowball wasn't there. He felt very sad. So if we look at this picture right here, there's a little dark spot that looks a little wet. So the author isn't telling us that the snowball melted with words, but he's kind of showing us and having us use those clues that we know to tell us that the snowball melted in his pocket in his warm house. While he slept, he dreamed that sun had melted all the snow away. But when he woke up, the dream was gone and the snow was still everywhere. New snow was falling. After breakfast, he called to his friend across the hall and they went out together into the deep, deep snow. It's a fun, cute little book. And so the author does a lot of those in the pictures and with the words about talking about the setting. Like when he talked about the crunching through the fresh, sparkling snow, he's talking about the setting. What do you think? How could you add on to that story? All right, so now we're going to just look at these sentences because sometimes we need to use our context clues in our sentences to get their meaning for tricky words. So the boy made deep tracks as he crunched through the snow. Well, here we have the word crunched. And crunched can mean a couple things. It can mean like crunched up something, or you can crunch some ice, or it can also be a sound. So as he crunched through the snow, he's doing a little bit of both of those things, where he's crunching something with his feet as he's walking through, and it might have something to do with the sound that he hears as he's walking. Then we have the giant grumbled under his breath as he stomped through the woods. The giant grumbled under his breath as he stomped through the woods. Looking at this sentence, what does grumbled mean? So he's grumbling under his breath. So when somebody grumbles under their breath, it's kind of like, oh, I don't like this. So we're taking grumbling as kind of a meaning that he's not very happy as he's stomping through the woods. So do you think that the giant is happy or upset? Right, he would be upset. Do you think that he's talking loudly or quietly if we look at he grumbled under his breath? Yeah, he's probably talking quietly. So like when you talk under your breath as you grumble, you're doing it in a grouchy way, and he's annoyed. Maybe he's annoyed because he's going through the woods. He could be annoyed. Maybe he stepped on a sharp rock. So looking at pictures like this one, or looking at other words around, like under his breath or crunching through the snow as he's making deep tracks, those will all help us be like reading detectives with our context clues. So the homework that you have is I want you to find a story that you love, and I want you to find 2 clues that tell you something about the setting or the character and write them down. And then I want you to find a tricky word in that story or a different story and use context clues to figure out what it means. You can write them on a piece of paper and your guess before you read it, and then change your guess after you've read. You can share it with a family member when you're done, or you can bring it back and share it with me. But that's all I have. Thank you. Great job reading detectives, and next time I hope to see you at school.